It's 6 o'clock, and I am calling to order the meeting of the Planning Commission on Wednesday, February 18th. Sherry, could you take the roll, please?
Chair Murphy?
Here.
Vice Chair Chesley?
Here.
Commissioner Reich-Schmidt?
Here.
Commissioner Stewart?
Here.
And one vacancy.
Thank you. Katrina, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have an agenda. Lucas, are there any changes?
I do have one requested change that the council, or that the commission would need to vote on, which is the removal of item number 6. It's the Brown Act training, and then basically removing the agenda item and rescheduling it for the next available meeting.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none. Sherry, would you take, I guess we need a motion to approve.
I move that we eliminate it and postpone it to another time.
Second that.
Thank you. Sherry, would you take the roll?
Stewart? Aye. Reich-Schmidt?
Aye.
Chesley?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Our commission was short 2 members until this past week. I am happy to welcome one new member to the commission this evening and introduce to you Brad Stewart. And I've asked him to tell us a little bit about himself.
Thank you. Happy to be on board and anxious to work with all you guys. So thank you. It's an honor to serve the city. I appreciate it. I'm Brad. I have 5 kids. 4 of them are older and live in Portland, Oregon. They're all off doing their thing post-college. And then I have a 15-year-old here in Ojai that goes to Oak Grove. And we're engaged in a couple of businesses here in town. And prior to living here, we've been here about 13 years, 12 years. Prior to living here, my wife and I lived between Geneva, Switzerland, and Portland, Oregon, and we worked in the sporting good business. So happy to be part of the group.
Thank you, Brad. Welcome to the commission. At this time, we set aside a few minutes for public communications. This is the time for the public to address the commission on any items of business other than the scheduled agenda items. The items you raise at this time can be discussed by the commission, will generally be referred to staff and/or placed on a subsequent agenda. We can take no action on items of that sort tonight. Do we have any blue cards for public communications? I see none. Sherry, is there anyone online?
No.
Okay, well, we will move right along to this consent calendar then. The minutes of the regular meeting of the Planning Commission of January 21, 2026.
One card.
Are there any changes to the minutes?
Item 3.
Hearing no changes, I would accept a motion to approve the minutes.
I move we approve minutes of the regular meeting of January 21st.
I second.
Thank you. Sherry, roll call.
Stewart?
Aye.
Reich-Schmidt?
Aye.
Chesley?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Disclosure of site visits and ex parte contacts at this time. We have several items on our agenda this evening. Should we disclose these as separate items, or can we do the whole thing in one fell swoop? The whole thing in one fell swoop, okay. Katrina, would you?
I had no ex parte contacts, but I did go to all three sites. I went to the, item 2 site, item 3 site, item 4 site, and item 5 site. Wait, zone change?
Yes.
Yes. I went to all.
Okay, Jonathan?
No ex parte contacts, and I walked by the sites. Yeah.
I had no ex parte contacts, but I did visit items 2, 3, and 4, the properties.
Thank you. And the same is true of me. I have no ex parte contacts, and I have visited all of the sites. Moving on to the public hearing for item number 2, which is an amendment to design review permit. And I would ask at this time the staff to give their presentation on this item.
I need to.
Oh, wait a sec.
I need to recuse myself on this
So-
item.
Um,
I'm the tenant at this item.
Item 2? We have one commissioner who has an interest in that site and will therefore be recusing himself at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. This is a proposed amendment to a previously approved design review permit related to a transom element above an entrance to an existing building. The project is located at 102 North Signal, and you can see it here on this location map. And here we have the originally or previously existing, prior to any review and approval by the Planning Commission, and the item tonight that we're going to be talking about is towards the left of your screen, not the furthest left, but the one to the right of that. And I'm going to show you here. This is what you approved previously, and I'm going to go to the next screen, which is what's approved now, and then I'm going to describe what is happening here. So this is what you're reviewing this evening, and what you are reviewing is outlined in red on the screen. So again, it was a design review permit related to the transom element, or what we're looking at tonight, the transom element above the entrance of 102 North Signal. The building is a contributor to the California Register of Historical Resources. California Register listed downtown Ojai Historic District. On January 8th, the Historic Preservation Commission reviewed and considered this amendment and unanimously approved the amendment to their previously approved major work permit with WP 25008. Again, you previously approved the previous screen on October 1st, 2025, and the previously approved area, just for what's in this circle here, included a replacement of an existing storefront with a wood frame system proposed to be flush with the exterior wall with the door opening inward. And a new transom was approved to be installed above the storefront, replacing an existing stucco panel. Additionally, the stucco and rocks would be repaired and finished above the new transom. The amendment includes repairing the existing stucco above the new storefront system, and there is a transom there, but it's not where the transom is going to be, and we do have the applicant here to go into further description if necessary. Well, he should be online. The reason for the request was because the contractor discovered that during the process of removing the existing concrete to install rocks above the previously approved transom, that doing this work may be detrimental to the integrity of the structural framing because they were having to cut in to the existing concrete 4 to 6 inches to install that rock. And so instead of doing that, they want to continue the reservation and restoration efforts, and seeking to restore and introduce some of the original materials and style. As you can see here, there would be stucco above the transom, as opposed to, I'm going back to the previously approved one, as opposed to rocks above the transom. And the rocks were to match the existing rocks that are on that side of the building. I think it sounds a little bit more confusing than it is. So the current request also includes a new exterior wall sconce above this tenant door and the one to the left on your screen. That's an existing tenant space that's not otherwise being altered. And these light fixtures are hand-worked iron in a classical industrial style, and they meet the night sky standards of the municipal code. So the applicant's intention, as I already said, is to restore the existing entry, and this amendment continues the intention and is specifically respecting the integrity of the current entrance by pulling back and not cutting into the existing support beam. Staff is recommending approval of the project as amended, and I do believe that we have Mr. Becker online if you have questions, further questions for him. Thank you.
Thank you, Maura. So basically, we are looking at a situation where you're replacing rock with stucco and adding lights.
Adding lights and not removing an existing beam to put rock, instead stuccoing it.
Stuccoing it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And if you'd like, I can also go back to what it looked like before anything was removed or remodeled or renovated, and then again what was approved, and then now what the amendment is, if you want me to go back and forth just to see.
Has the Historical Commission weighed in on this?
Yes, so they saw this amendment and unanimously approved this amendment.
Okay.
And also they saw it before and approved their work permit.
Right.
So they approved an amendment to the work permit.
Do you have any questions, Katrina?
I just have one of staff. Is all the work is completed, correct?
I haven't been there this week, but they have been working. And
Okay,
Yes.
because I went out there and it looks great. I just didn't know if there was anything else they were doing. So I'm assuming the work is completed.
okay, again, I haven't been out there to check, so
Okay, so that's a question for the applicant, or,
thanks.
Brad?
Yeah, did the Historical Committee review the lighting on
Yes.
this?
Yes, they
And-
did.
And what was the opinion? This is something I would equate with kind of a 1950s industrial style rather than Spanish revival.
So
What
they
was the thinking on their part?
They approved the lighting, and as part of their work permit, their concern at the time, honestly, was the way it was installed, but it has been reinstalled to be more appropriately installed. It looked a little, it wasn't very sound at first. So, but now I understand that it is. They were happy with the lighting.
Even though it's kind of far outside what you would typically and historically see on that building?
What I can say is that they approved the lighting
Mm-hmm.
as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any questions for the contractor online? No?
my question is, if the work is just completely done, I appreciate when there's in-field findings and you have to adjust your proposal. And I believe that's what happened here, and they just completed what they wanted to complete with it, but I just want to make sure.
So Sherry, do we have Mr. Becker online?
Yeah, I just allowed him to talk. Can you take your screen down?
Hi, this is Jason. Can you hear me okay? I'm the architect for the project.
Hi, yes, we can hear you.
Jeff and I couldn't make it tonight, unfortunately. I think he's having some difficulties raising his hand. But essentially, yes, we didn't do any demolition prior to getting the permit. So once we got the previous version of this project approved, we started the work, and we discovered that that concrete section above the transom was structural. You know, we couldn't remove that, and we didn't want to adhere like a veneer of rocks to it. It wouldn't look appropriate with the other rocks that are full depth and full size. So that's why we tried to make the adjustment. But instead of keeping the concrete section exposed, we want to cover it with stucco to match some of the other areas of the building. So there's a field condition that we had to address. And as far as the work being done, I have not been there recently, so I can't speak to it, unfortunately. So I know that the building permits have been issued and our previous planning approvals have been issued, but I haven't been there within the last couple of weeks.
Okay, so I guess my question is what's
Microphone.
what the project that's out there right now, the work that's been done, is it complete to your satisfaction? I mean, or is
I
there
have not
more
seen
to
it.
do?
Again, I have not been there in the last couple of weeks, so I'm not certain the state exactly of the exterior.
I think I'm unmuted now. Sherry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Sorry, guys. This is Jeff Becker. Good evening. Sorry I'm not in town today. Had to fly to the East Coast and just got in. But Katrina, to your question, yes, it's completed at present. What happened was we ran into this gray beam, which is massive, and we had our rock vendor come out with his gear, and he wanted to start chiseling into the gray beam, which was going to be a real problem in my mind. And so we in the field decided that we needed to alert planning staff and not install the rock over the gray beam. We did install a few little inserts because the rock that existed previously was at sort of an odd angle, and we tried to level it above the gray beam. And then we plastered that beam to cover it. So yes, to the extent it's pretty well finished. There's still some touch-up painting and things we would be doing, but wanted to get this in front of you guys. The modifications also in front of the HPC who was reviewing it as well.
Thank you, Jeff.
No problem.
If it sounds like we had a situation where we had to course correct in the middle of a project, and it looks like that has been done very efficiently. If there are no further questions, I would entertain a motion at this time to approve the design review permit 25-005.
I'm sorry, excuse me, we have to open this up for
Oh.
public.
That there is no public card. So
I think you- I
is
think you
anyone
do have one.
here wanting to address this? Anyone online, Sherry?
No.
Okay, we will close the public hearing and move on to a motion to accept.
I make a motion to adopt a resolution approving an amendment to the previously approved design review permit DRP 2505.
I'd like to second that motion, but may I make an amendment to the motion that they at least offer to the community that they will take a look at the lighting. I think, God is in the details, as they say. And it's truly a different period of lighting. And I think just to keep the visual integrity, especially on the street, there are other people have done more wrought iron, more period type pieces. And so I would ask that we amend that motion, that they at least look at it, not require them to change it, but pay the community a courtesy to try to be as period as they can.
I accept that
Okay,
change.
I second that motion then.
Okay, Sherry, could we have a roll call?
Stewart,
Aye.
Rice Schmidt,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to okay. Moving on to item 3, which is a design review permit and minor conditional use permit to change from a single-use business administrative offices for specialized school to include a retail and restaurant use as well as outdoor dining for a property located at 302 El Paseo Road. Would the staff like to address this item at this time?
Yes, thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Forgive me if I repeat some of what you just said. This is a request for a design review permit and minor conditional use permit for a change of use from single-use business administrative offices to include retail and restaurant uses as well as outdoor dining, and the project is located at 302 El Paseo Road. The project site is located in a commercial zone in an eclectic neighborhood with a mix of residential and commercial uses, as you'll see on your screen. This corner site is bordered to the north by residential uses, the west by a residence, and then a restaurant adjacent to that residence. Across Cañada Street to the east and across El Paseo to the south are additional commercial uses. The proposal is to reduce the floor area of the administrative offices by limiting the use to 1,270 square feet, which is the second floor. You'll see here on your screen. The first floor is then proposed to be remodeled to include a 1,300 square foot retail space and a 1,591 square foot cafe with outdoor dining. This arrangement establishes a mixture of uses where alternative shared use parking standards may be applied pursuant to section 10.2.1406 of the Ojai Municipal Code. The existing parking lot, the existing parking lot includes 20 spaces. However, it currently doesn't meet the drive aisle width that's required with the development standards in the municipal code and is therefore proposed to be modified. And the parking lot will ultimately accommodate 18 spaces where 16 are required. Pursuant to 10.2.2003 of the code, a change of use as well as exterior alterations make this project subject to Planning Commission review and consideration of the design review permit. And pursuant to 10.2.2403 requires the director approval of a minor conditional use permit for the outdoor dining facilities on the private property. However, the director is referring this consideration to the Planning Commission because combining the permits really just simplifies the process and makes it more efficient for staff, for the applicant, and for the community. The modifications to the structure are relatively minor. I'm going to show you that screen. This screen shows you the existing, and when I show you the proposed on the next screen, you're not going to see a whole lot different in these at this distance and at this detail. But I will tell you that no modifications are proposed on the north elevation, and the south elevation includes the removal of a wall adjacent to the east of the entry and replaced with a glass paned curtain wall that will extend down to grade, and that's going to allow light into the restaurant. The east elevation includes removal of a wall section towards the south end of the building for installation of 2 door assemblies. The door assembly furthest to the south is for access to the restaurant's outdoor dining from inside the restaurant, and the door assembly adjacent to the north is for access to the proposed retail establishment. The main access to the restaurant and to the outdoor dining is on the south side of the building through an existing entrance. The west elevation includes 2 new entry doors, and these are for employees of one for the restaurant and one for the retail establishment. Section 10 to 1406 is a section that is regarding reduction of the parking requirements, and this provides the opportunity for shared parking based on the assumption that patrons would be using a single parking space for more than one destination, and that a single parking space would be available potentially for short-term parking to serve for a variety of different uses. In the proposed scenario, there are administrative offices with daytime and daytime weekday hours, and a full-service restaurant, including evening hours, with the highest patronage most likely on the weekends, and the retail establishment requiring short-term parking most, if not all, days of the week and during the daytime business hours. Projects developed under the shared use parking standards in the code are required to enter into an agreement with the city, which is recorded with the office, at the county offices at the county recorder's office. The agreement requires that the parking be operated on a non-exclusive basis while and be available to the general public for shared use at all times. The applicant has provided a preliminary landscape plan and the plan includes maintaining the existing mature trees, shrubs, and there's some additional landscaping materials that are proposed adjacent to the ingress on Kenyatta as well as along the west property line. Replacement of concrete is proposed for the outdoor dining area on either side of the main entrance facing that same corner. The proposed outdoor dining is proposed on private property. There are two tops proposed on the east side of the building, straddling a new entry to and from this patio area. And due to the angled lines of the structure, I wrote about it in the staff report, this seating is kind of tucked away for a semi-private dining experience. And there are 5 additional 2 tops proposed at the main entrance on either side of the main entrance on the southwest side of the structure straddling that main entrance. So there are a total of 14 seats outside, and all of those seats are proposed on concrete. The applicant is here to answer any questions or clarify their proposal further than I have, and staff is recommending that the commission approve the project as proposed, subject to the conditions of approval that are included in your resolution, draft resolution.
Thank you, Maura. Would the applicant like to address the commission at this time, or would you rather wait for questions?
Hello, my name is Kevin Cohan. I'm representing the property owner, who's also my father, Bijan Cohan. We've been in the community for over 30 years now. Excited to bring this project. Here to answer any questions. Want to thank Maura and staff for their help throughout this process. And we're here available to answer any questions from the board. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open it up to the public for comments. I have a card first from Larry Steingold.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice, warm and cozy in here. Larry Steingold, citizen Ojai. I think it's a great use. Mixed use, office, retail, restaurant. What could be better? Enough parking? My question, and it obviously goes to parking, is that if they have full occupancy during the week, if they're open during the day or at lunch, or if they ever decide to do that. And the office is there, and they're successful, which we all hope they are. I hope their food's great. Love to go to a new place. Will there be enough parking for customers, employees of the office, people who are going to retail? It'll be in the neighborhood, because they're gonna park on the streets, on Cañada and El Paseo. I mean, just consider the ramifications and the predictable consequences of more parking. People already parking on Cañada and El Paseo is a little bit dangerous, a little bit, coming through. But again, it's a good use. I hope you support it. I just think we should be aware and cognizant of that, and possibly maybe another city parking lot somewhere, something, because if they're busy over there, it's gonna get worse further down, because you want them to be successful. And I hope it gets passed. So.
Thank you, Larry. I have a card here from Kevin Cohen. Are you expecting or needing an additional? No, okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, I'll close the public comment period and turn it over to the commission for questions and discussion. How about you, Jonathan? Would you like to start us off?
Sure. I guess I was just trying to, so, I mean, yeah, I think the project's mostly about parking, right? Largely. I guess more like broadly stepping back, I was trying to understand sort of some of the math between the alternative shared use parking standards and the, you know, the typical parking requirement standards. I don't know, can you guys like maybe just give a quick rundown on your thoughts on those? Because I'm just, it's just interesting math to me. It feels like, I get that each one would have to be less, but it seems like significantly less, even though when you add them together, it's like still less than one of those on their own for that location, for example.
Are you asking us to, or are you asking staff?
Yes.
Okay, so, well, without the shared parking standards, yes, the parking requirement would be significantly more. I want to say approximately 25 parking spaces. However, because of the shared uses and the different hours of operation, the code provides an opportunity for there to be a less restrictive parking, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think the director would like to add something.
In addition to that, so think about this. You're in the downtown district, you park in the downtown area, and you walk over here. You don't actually park at this location. If we were looking at it from a standalone use, sitting on an island, then absolutely. I don't know how you get through a shared parking agreement that goes to the county, gets recorded, significantly reducing the number of parking spaces, and then also opening up the opportunity for this to be a public parking space as well.
Right.
So what it's doing is, by the significant reduction, it's recognizing that there's other uses that are within walking distance, certainly across the street and certainly to the east and to the west, to the north as well. So really all directions within this area have an opportunity for it to be walkable, right? So you could be parking within a walking distance, or you could park here and not necessarily use that space to go into this restaurant, but actually go somewhere else. Or you could go in the restaurant and then go somewhere else. So it's providing a lot of flexibility from that standpoint, but with that flexibility comes a pretty harsh restriction in terms of how that use can be afforded into the future. So I think I just wanted to give some context from a planning standpoint, just from a use standpoint, from that context, so.
And I also wanted to point out, in the traffic study that was prepared for the project, they do a parking analysis, and it says that the ordinance parking requirements is 16, 9 for the restaurant, 4 for retail, 3 for office, for a total required number of 16, and they're providing 18.
Yep.
So they're beyond what's required.
Yep.
So I just wanted to point that out. Also, anecdotally, I live on the west side, and I walk to the restaurant across the street. So I think this would be a good addition to the neighborhood.
Yeah,
And I would walk, I would not drive.
right, yeah.
Couple of questions for the owner. The first one is, I live very near this location too, and on the Ojai Ave walkway there where we have the light flashing and everything, you're good. Crossing over to this cafe, you take your life into your hands because people are trying to either turn in too fast, coming off of the hill, glancing at the liquor store as they turn left. Have you guys kind of thought about plans, visibility, traffic, making sure that, however you're, I can look at your plants here, but it's a little tricky to see it in real time. Have you thought about keeping those sides visible there, because there is kind of a 3-point connector there with people coming off the hill pretty fast usually?
Thank you for that comment. Definitely, we're aware of that. There's actually been discussion in the community about bulb outs for that area and future improvements to the roadway. So keeping that line of sight available for pedestrians and traffic. As Maura had stated, a lot of the dining is on the private property side, not in the public right of way, so it is confined to that area. So we're maintaining that line of sight and visibility. We hope the city in the future will do some street improvements there with the bulb outs, kind of doing some traffic calming devices there to help with that pedestrian-oriented walking and feeling. But we felt this kind of goes with the intent of the city and the general plan of trying to create a pedestrian walkable community in this area with activating the intersection. So we're hoping with this development we can kind of create a node there in the community.
Are there bike racks on site?
Currently, there's none shown on this site plan, but we do plan to provide bike racks. There's ADA accessible parking available as well.
Saw that.
And a new trash enclosure, which was not previously provided on the property. So there will be significant site improvements made that will help bring the property up to meeting today's code standards.
And the entry to the parking is from Cañada, right? Correct?
So the entrance, if you bring up the site plan, it is from Canada, and then there's an exit only
On El Paseo.
on El Paseo. And the intent is to keep that circulation kind of moving through the rear parking lot. That used to be a former bank building. There used to be a drive-through there. So that use, unfortunately, is not viable anymore. So we're looking at an adaptive reuse opportunity to how do we invigorate the property and look at new opportunities. So this was something that we came up with that can provide a smaller space for tenants that can rent and don't need a large space on the ground floor any longer, and kind of subdivide the space into different uses with different off-peak and on-peak hours, so that parking can work and the hours of operation can work together. Thank you.
There are a number of new doors being provided, and I was wondering, as well as like the glazing enlargement, I was wondering if there was any more detail on that could be provided. It's just kind of here in like the elevation drawing, but there isn't really much about
Like a door schedule, is that what you're talking about?
well, there's like a proposed door frame and assembly. It's kind of the note.
Can the
I know there's like
applicant-
paint colors, but those are really about the walls
Right.
and the
So-
shingles and the fascia.
Is the applicant, can you
Sure,
talk?
Mara, if you don't mind, there's a floor plan showing the cafe or the restaurant there that maybe it may help. There's no window or door schedule produced at this time. That will be produced during the building permit plan check process, but we wanted to really open up this space and kind of create that retail open space feel. So this image here actually kind of shows it nicely. This area here would be opened up. The stucco that was previously there did not provide that light and air to pass through. So there's a new window proposed there. There's a new door entry on the side there. That would be a new door entry for the patio as well. So looking to kind of open up that space to the patio and make it more inviting to the restaurant or cafe and to the patio.
Yeah, that all makes sense to me. I mean, I think that we're tasked to just kind of ensure that the visual nature of those elements, or work with the existing architecture and the site. So I just got to think a little more information on that. The locations, the reasoning makes sense to me. Yeah.
The door type would be similar to what is existing there, which is a black frame door that is currently visible on the main entry. It would be a similar in size and look on the side entry.
With the kind of like the several kind of like.
With the window paneling around it. So similar to what you see there on the front entry would be a similar on this side stucco. You'll see a similar type of look and feel.
Mm-hmm.
But we wanted to keep the same context of the building throughout.
Mm-hmm.
May I make a recommendation? So that is absolutely part of the design review, so it gets approved here before it goes to building permit. So as a design component of the project, so we probably really should have seen the door schedules. But I'd be willing to propose that we approve the project, but you come back and get approval, if it's okay with you, since you're our architect, that he bring you the details on the door and window schedules. And if you're okay with it, I would be okay with it. Because I trust you as the architect. But so I'm just throwing it out there that could be an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And if that's something the board wants to make a recommendation as a condition, we're happy to oblige by that. And I'm happy to sit down with you and share some ideas with planning staff as well.
Lucas, you look like you have something to say. Lucas, you look like you have something to say.
Okay, so a couple of things on that piece. I'm loving the direction that you're going with that. The only concern that I would have with it is I think we can craft a condition that spells out what you're talking about. Giving authorization to one commissioner to approve something moving forward sounds like we're taking a public hearing item and moving it to the front counter, essentially. Instead, what I would offer is final approval through the community development department or even the community development director with guidance by one of the commissioners. And I think you could assign that to Mr. Chesley. I think that would be okay. I think that way
Absolutely.
we're
That's
addressing
right.
it.
That's right.
Yeah, so then we're, okay, all right.
For sure.
All right. The other thing that I wanted to mention, sorry, I'm just going back to Ojai Avenue and the conversation that was starting to come up there. I just want to make the commission, and I'm not sure that the applicant's aware of this, but we have a phase 2 going that's currently being considered for ATP. So that is Ojai Avenue all the way across, all the way to the edge of the community, to the city. So that piece, the bulb outs, those different types of things are certainly being considered, not by the city. I mean, the city's an applicant to what's going on with that, but it's Caltrans mainly that maintains that road, and then we've got to get authorization to do any work there, as well as utilities as well. So I just wanted to point that out. I know that there's always conversation around the pieces that happen and the interactions that happen along Ojai Avenue. So,
Is the planning commission, do they get the ability to review that plan? Because that's kind of our bailiwick.
it is. The Planning Commission did see that in the phase 2, or the phase 1 piece, quite a number of years ago. I think I had just started here. Phase 2 was a part of that discussion, but was in very early stages. When I say very early, I feel like it was back of the napkin for phase 2, where there was a lot more information that was provided to the commission at that time. So, anyway, that's it.
Okay. And
Related to this idea of how to take a second review of the door schedule, and I'd recommend something where we have an understanding a little bit clearer of what the existing looks like. The image right now is sort of, from an angle and it's a little hard to see, just then it can be really clear this is what is here and this is how we're looking to, kind of match with that in order to make it an expeditious review.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments?
I think the only other question I had, we're here with a white building and we have the Navajo white, starting up right down the street. And it seems like that would be something for you to consider. Since you're not too far off of that shade, I wonder if you would, consider unifying just to clean up that presentation, if you will.
Are you making that a suggestion, or is that a question?
Yeah, I'm happy to have, it was Bijan, correct? And, provide thoughts on that. Is there flexibility on that, or you guys?
My understanding, the building was actually recently painted, and it was recently, there was some stucco that was recently redone. But I'm happy to discuss that with my father and see if that's something we can consider.
Yeah, I don't think it would be anything I would see as a requirement, but, certainly if it was something that could be considered, it would match into.
In good faith with speaking with Mr. Chesley here and the director, that could be an item also we can discuss in that purview as part of that director approval. So
Yeah.
if that's a condition that you want to request,
Mm-hmm.
we can look at that.
Or just as a thought the next time you need to paint?
Actually,
Definitely, yeah.
I'm not a fan of that idea.
Okay.
Sorry. I do think, that the Navajo white looks great for our downtown and having some kind of background buildings, which I would call this, coming into town, when you turn the corner and you see those buildings, I think it's, there's a wow factor there. And I don't think everything has to be the same color downtown. I'm fine with a neutral color for this building in particular.
Yeah, fair comment.
Okay.
I just had a question about, this is no big deal, but the landscaping, I know that you're basically copying what's there, but you have a couple, the sedge spec, and I'm just asking if you could just maybe replace that one with a native California native. There's a couple options that look just like that, but just do the native.
Sure.
And if you can limit the, what is it? You already have it there, the Nandina.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit of an invasive. It's not on the California invasive list, but if you could replace or plant any new plants native that have that same format in size, that'd be
Definitely.
great.
Yeah, we can look at more drought-tolerant landscaping there.
But everything else looks good, the ceanothus and even the verbena, but
Great, thank you.
looks good.
Anything else? I would like to agree with Larry Steingold's comment about the city needing to consider parking in general. Downtown is becoming very busy and tight, and if there is a way to get a parking ramp somewhere in town, it would alleviate that stress. And again, to make sure that this corner, the safety of the people walking on this corner is in mind as traffic patterns are considered and changed. With that, I must say I really like the idea of what you're doing, and look forward to seeing what kind of retail you bring in and what kind of restaurants you bring in.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
What kind of restaurant is it?
At this time, there's no tenant in mind. We're looking to build a space and hope they come.
And they will come. Okay, thank you. Well, if there are no other comments by the commissioners, I would entertain a motion to approve this DRP. Give her a break.
I move that we adopt a PC resolution approving design review permit 25-007 and conditional use. Am I on the right thing here?
No.
No.
003?
003, yes, CUP 25003 for a change of use from single-use business administrative offices for a specialized school to include retail and restaurant uses as well as outdoor dining based on the findings and conditions. With the caveat, with the added condition that the applicant come back to the Community Development Director and Commissioner Chesley to review the window and door schedules.
I second that.
Sherry, could we have the vote?
Stewart,
Aye.
Chesley,
Aye.
Ray Schmidt,
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item 4. We have a request for a zone change from business professional to commercial to allow an existing business to include the sale of alcohol at the Ojai Gas and Associated Convenience Store on Maricopa Avenue, Highway. Could we have the staff report on this, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair and Commissioners, and again, forgive me for repeating some of what you just said. The applicant is requesting Planning Commission review and recommendation to the City Council for a zone change from business professional to commercial for the site located at 1124 Maricopa Highway. This is to allow for the sale of alcohol and bring an existing gas station, which is Ojai Gas, the associated convenience store into conformance regarding the zone designation. No exterior modifications are proposed for this through this project. So pursuant to 10.2.503 of the Ohio Municipal Code, service stations, including gas stations, are not permitted in the business professional zone. However, they are permitted in the commercial zone, general commercial, subject to Planning Commission approval of a conditional use permit. And due to a previous nonconformance of this existing gas station in 1996, the property owner requested and received approval from the Planning Commission at that time of a conditional use permit to operate the existing gas station. That was CUP 96-6. Pursuant to Section 10.2.2413, a conditional use permit shall continue to be valid upon the change of ownership of a site or business change, services changed, or use for the structure that was subject to the permit application. So for this reason, the gas station that's existing may continue to operate in the C1 zone if and when changed from the business commercial zone under this existing conditional use permit. And pursuant to Section 10.2.503 of the existing, of the Ohio Municipal Code, the existing convenience store is not permitted in the BP zone, the business professional zone. The sale of alcohol is also not permitted in the business professional zone. However, both of these uses are permitted in the C1 zone. The convenience store is currently existing, so a change of use a change of zone would correct the non-compliance aspect of that convenience store and then would also allow for the sale of alcohol in the convenience store. There are 2 other gas stations within the city limits, and they both include a convenience store and they both sell beer and wine. Again, these uses are allowed by right in the C1 zone, not the gas station. They need a use permit, but the convenience store and the sale of beer and wine. And the reason I bringing this up and that it's pertinent is because this business and also property owner, he's the business owner and property owner, he's trying to stay competitive within the city. The project is located on a major thoroughfare between medical offices and the state transportation storage yard. Up on the screen, you can see the different zones and the surrounding neighborhood. It's directly across the highway, Highway 33, from the shopping center that includes Yvonne's grocery store as the anchor, and it has attached retail and restaurant uses, and on that site there's also a standalone liquor store. Directly behind the gas station to the east is a veterinary hospital. And the surrounding uses are relevant because I want to indicate to you, the reason I'm including those is to indicate that it's a very diverse area and it's heavily commercial, and it's a prime area to change the zone to general commercial. So should the Planning Commission enter into or entertain supporting this request, there are findings that are required according to or pursuant to 10-2-2707, and they are included in your draft resolution, and the applicant has made their justification, and staff has kind of put that into the resolution and the findings for you. A zone change from BP to C1, that's business professional, to general commercial, will make the currently non-conforming convenience store and the sale of alcohol conforming uses. If the Planning Commission were not to entertain this request, the existing convenience store would remain non-conforming and no expansion to allow the sale of alcohol would be permitted. And please note, as previously indicated, the applicant, who is also the business owner and property owner, is seeking the change in the zone to be in compliance with the municipal code and to also stay competitive in the gas station market within the city. So more background for this project includes that on June 18th, 2025, the then Planning Commission reviewed a concept review of this proposed zone change, and minutes were included in your packet. However, as previously stated in your staff report, the staff and the commissions take action minutes, and so they're not very detailed. So I also included in the staff report that you may want to listen to and watch the video from that evening. And if you had the opportunity to watch the video, then you saw that there was support at the time from some of the commissioners for a zone change from BP to C1. Staff is recommending approval subject or recommendation to the City Council of approval subject to the findings, and we do have an applicant here this evening to answer further questions. Or
Thank
any
you.
questions.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff? Okay,
I have a question for staff. I want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. If I look at the general plan, the objective in the general plan is to move that zone toward commercial.
The general plan, both the BP and the C1 are in compliance with the general plan land use designation of general commercial.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then second question, which would be for the property owner, do they currently hold a license there, and what kind of license?
can you hold that one until we bring
Yeah.
him up?
Mhm.
Okay. Then at this time, I will open the public hearing. Do we have anyone who would like to address this item in the audience?
This is actually the applicant. Do you want to let the applicant add to my presentation before you open it up to
You
public
could.
comments?
If you'd like.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead, and if you want to add to, my presentation or
Oh, yes.
have anything to say yourself.
Well, I guess just to reiterate a little bit, just my name's Evelyn Abassi. I represent the property owner at 1124 Maricopa Highway. Everyone is here, it seems like they've visited the Shell gas station. It's a family-run business, been part of Ojai since 1962. and under this family stewardship for nearly 30 years. Family very deeply invested in the community and committed to remaining here long term. So in June, I first came before you in June 2025 for a conceptual review to discuss what the proper path would be and just forward to allow this family business to just be competitive, to remain competitive and sustainable. I want to clarify that the proposal was just for beer and wine, not hard liquor, so that this gas station could operate on equal footing with others in the city. And during that discussion, it became clear that the cleanest and most appropriate mechanism was a zone change. In other words, it's not simply just alcohol sales, but it was a zoning alignment. We followed that direction, and that's why we're here today. So again, while it was triggered as a request to sell beer and wine, we're trying to remain competitive. And the broader purpose here is consistency. We want to ensure that the zoning reflects the long-standing commercial reality of the site and the character of this corridor. Now, if you reviewed the prior city council meeting, we did have support in pushing, hey, you need to do a zone change. There was some discussion about potentially modifying or getting a CUP. That was after the fact, saying that is not a path that we can take. So we're asking here for this gas station to be conforming, to allow this to operate with just the store, the convenience store that's currently there without this zone change is going to be a non-conforming use. So again, we respectfully ask for your support to rezone this property to C1 and to recommend approval. We're open to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Evelyn.
No problem.
Okay, at this time, I will open the public hearing, and I have a card from Larry Steingold.
Oh.
Hi, Larry Steingold. I think it's a good way because most places sell booze, beer and wine here anyway. Most gas stations, most food stores, so it's not out of line. But to use competition as a reason for a zone change or variance or anything does not do anything for the property. That's the business. So is there some way you can give them the variance without using competition or business? It's like I want a zone change because I want more business. That's not the right way to do zoning or variance in my way of thinking. Does it clean up zoning? Does it make it more concise? Does it make it a more unifying concept? Does it make it better for the city? Not just for the business, because the business could come and go. But what's the right zone for that usage, it should have been changed years ago, straightened out, cleaned up, and here we are. But you keep mentioning competition, or she keeps mentioning competition, and that's not the reason for the zone change. In my book, that's why you should give it to them and go forward, because this makes sense.
Thank you, Larry. Are there any other comments online, Sherry?
No.
Any other in the audience? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and turn the discussion over to the commissioners. Do you have questions? I'll bet you do.
Well, I think I have a similar kind of rolling off of Larry's comments there. It's not like particularly obvious to me, but I guess for you, Lucas, or Maura, who really have their head in the zoning map all the time, how do you feel about this? I mean, you're making the recommendation. I guess the one thing I note is that there is not a lot of BP on this map. So to remove BP, but maybe BP is a way of the past anyways. I guess I'm wondering, like, is there a thinking here, in how it relates to the map in this area, since they are both, as you said, fine in the general plan, So is there like but definitely BP is much more restrictive.
So I think you just said some of it, actually, in your question, and that is that the site is, or the area is heavily commercial, and this whole corridor is heavily commercial, and the zone that's being proposed is allowed in the general plan land use designation, or it's supported there at the C1, as well as the BP. It's a commercial use, and that's permitted in the C1 zone, subject to a conditional use permit. So it makes sense to change the zone out from BP to general commercial.
I think my question also is that, like, if we were talking about the M1 zone, you know, we'd be like, well, this is all the M1 we have in Ojai, you know, we shouldn't really change that. And I'm not like, so I don't think we have the same sort of like attachment necessarily to the BP, but it seems like a kind of a rare zone. So I'm just kind of curious if we can talk a little more about that.
Can we go back to the Wayback Train to maybe June of 2025 when we had this kind of in-depth conversation, and this is kind of for the community as well as commissioners that weren't necessarily seated here. So there was a couple of things that we were looking at here from a concept review. So the nice thing about the concept review is it really just provides kind of that, hey, we're thinking about doing this. There's other options out there, but we think this is the most appropriate one. There was other options that they could have gone. The variance is not an option. I just want to put that on the table. That is not an option for something like this. There is another option, which would have been a text amendment to this code, which would have allowed across the board for BP through a CUP process, basically for a gas station to continue to have the alcohol, to also have the convenience. So it would have allowed it across the board, not just to this site, but also all BP. And looking at that, the intent of the BP is to be more restrictive and careful in terms of how it handles each of those uses along Ojai Avenue. Across the street is C1, right? So it logically makes sense when you're looking at it from a planning standpoint to look at it from an expansion standpoint, expanding that use across the street in an area that already kind of functions as a C1 use, and coupled with the facts that the other gas stations, not a competition piece, because understand that from a finding standpoint, we're not looking at competition. Obviously, from a business standpoint, they're looking at competition, but from a finding standpoint, in terms of what we're looking at, we're not looking at competition. Instead, we're looking at what is the flavor across Ojai Avenue, and what you're seeing consistently. The other two gas stations that are east of here are both C1, and mind you, similar size in terms of how they operate and similar operation practices. Obviously, they're different businesses, but similar operation practices. Then we look at what the findings specifically call for in terms of a zone change. Now, the nice thing about this is that we already have a kind of a foundation from a land use standpoint. So the land use from a general plan standpoint already gives you really good building blocks. From a general commercial standpoint, you're not having to change that. It's identifying a consistency with BP and with C1. So instead, we're just looking at the C1, the flip to kind of open up the playbook for how this use can continue to operate.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, is that then a goal in some way? I guess is my question.
Yeah, I think that's the first question is, you know, looking at the map, why do we have this BP? And just being a planner here in the past, I'm just thinking that at some point in time, we wanted to have more professional offices, medical offices associated with the hospital that's on Maricopa Highway, right? Some of those didn't get built. They were approved, but never got built, the ones on Church Road. And, you know, new state laws are kind of messing with our BP. And I'll explain that if you want. But, you know, I guess the question is at one point, we, as a community, we thought we wanted business professional down Maricopa Highway. So you know, is that still true? And I would say no, we don't. We want the gas station there. I think most of us in town use that station. I use other stations too, but I use that station. It's very convenient. It makes sense there. It's, on the corner, it's not a corner, but it's right there, Maricopa Highway, you're coming into town. It makes sense to have a gas station there. So I'm very supportive of the zone change to allow the alcohol sales. But I have to say I'm a little concerned about the CUP portion of it. That's not on the agenda right now. But I think there's a lot of outside storage, and there's a C train that was brought in. There's some other things on the site, like ramps for the risers there's 2 sets of those, one in the back, one on the side. Those aren't really permitted there. You're not supposed to do work outside. So those ramps really shouldn't be there. So my concerns are more operational with the CUP and not necessarily with the zone change. So I think I would support the zone change 100%. I'm all on board with that. I think it makes sense, and I think we want it there. We've been using it, and it makes sense. But I don't know if we can somehow look at the CUP at some point, or at least address some of the issues.
I think the things that, to Commissioner's point, are co-compliance related, and there have been ongoing co-compliance cases that have been either resolved or ongoing. As you may or may not be aware of, I don't know if I've mentioned this to the Commission, but we are transitioning from a reactive co-compliance format to a proactive, which then allows us to open the playbook in terms of how we operate versus waiting on the sidelines for complaints to come in and then to actively go after or at least review and pursue compliance. Instead, now we can go out and kind of have that forethought to, not necessarily saying that we're going after anybody at all hours of the night, but we're being strategic about how we roll that out. So to your point, yes, the CUP is actively being reviewed. And certainly we've already talked to the applicant, the property owner, about those ongoing issues.
Okay.
For sure.
Because I think we don't want to add more allowances to the site if there's issues on the site existing.
Exactly.
So
Complicating
maybe those can be
the existing
addressed
situation.
prior to it going to city council or something,
Certainly we can look into that. Absolutely.
if it goes.
Yeah, I guess picking up on that point, would the owner have any comment in that regard? My comments are kind of along the same line. And then I live there, use it, drive by a few times a day. And then the only other question I have is, it seems logical to me that we're creating effectively kind of a node that is a commercial node coming in there. And the liquor store across the street has actually stopped selling liquor in the last few weeks, and so things are changing in that neighborhood a little bit. But it does seem like there's kind of a C1 node, and then yes, people need offices, and we kind of want that space, and so it seems logical to say, okay, C1, that's where the node ends, keeps them effectively the business they've been for several years, but it gives them additional permission. But I'd be interested just to hear your comments on the CUP piece as the owners.
I hope that's okay. I have Alan, what's your last name, Alan?
Good evening, Alan Nelson. I'm with Marquette Consulting. I've been assisting with
The application, and just to make sure that we can fill that, I can answer the questions. I was a little confused a little bit with the existing CUP, because I think the issue, I'm not aware of what you guys were discussing as of right now. However, the issue with the CUP, that's the concern that we have, is that it's non-conforming. The CUP allows for the service station, but not for the convenience store or any sales or to do anything auxiliary to that. So You know, can you redirect the question that you're asking so that way I can give more clarification on it?
Right. So I know that when the original CUP was approved, you were able to get a CUP in the BP zone because the zoning code at the time didn't address convenience stores at all.
Right.
It wasn't listed. So because it wasn't prohibited, the city could allow you to get a CUP in that zone. Well, that doesn't, now, our code is different. It's been updated.
So that actually is a good point. Well, is because, the CUP was in 1999. So the property owner wasn't aware that there was a non-conforming use until we asked for a conceptual review, and then it was brought up. And since that time, we took proactive, we took proactive measures and steps to ask for the zone change to kind of correct that along with others.
Yes.
And so we don't, we were not aware of any issues.
No,
You're saying
okay.
There's additional new issues?
No, there's no issues with what you're asking. I think, well, at least I can only speak for myself. I think the zone change makes sense, and you'll get the alcohol sales that you want out of if it is approved, the zone change to C1, correct, right?
Correct, and again, that it would change us to C1, but we don't have, there's steps with A, B, C, and training and things, just so you're aware, additional steps to acquire, but the zoning is one of the issues, is a big issue. And again, if you've seen the map, everything now, just Ojai's changed since 1962, when the gas station was first there, to now. So we're just,
So getting back to the CUP part of my discussion is just the operations. There's things that are on the site right now that are not really permitted.
Okay.
So some outdoor storage
Okay.
that's not screened. There's some ramps there that are, associated with lifting the cars. There's 2 sets of those. Those are not permitted to be there. There's some things on site that are just not permitted to be on site.
Okay.
And that is a separate issue from the zone.
Right.
That goes back to
That
the
goes-
CUP.
Yes,
not the
yes,
zone change, correct.
right. But so it's separate
But
from,
we need to talk. So I am,
and the CUP's not on the agenda right now, so.
yeah,
So,
we need to, we'll address that.
yeah.
And figure that out.
Yeah,
that
that'd be
stuff out.
great.
Yeah, that's definitely an agenda then.
Will you be applying for, what is it, 21, or what type of
I believe
ABC?
it's a 20,
20?
believe so.
Okay.
And again, it's within our, there's certain there's other requirements there. The gas station, if the issue, with alcohol, we have protocols of carting even now. We have cameras, we have, we're gonna do whatever is necessary and what we've continued to do. And we're just hoping, for your approval on this. And again, it's consistent with our steps that we've taken, seeking the conceptual review and kind of asking, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we'd like to do. What is the steps that we need to take? And the point was you need to apply for a zone change. So we're, I hope that we can accomplish that today. And again, just to be clear, we've reviewed your resolution, the draft resolution, which is Exhibit A, carefully, and we agreed to any of those for those terms. So just to put that on the record, that we would be comfortable signing that resolution with the additional terms. Okay.
Okay, are there other questions for the applicant? Okay, hearing none. I must say, I was hard-pressed to grant more authorization to a convenience store that is already unpermitted. However, the gas station has been there forever. It makes sense. We need one on that side, and you have to do what you need to do to stay competitive. So I can see why you're requesting this change, and I do support the zone change as I did last time. If there are no other questions, I would entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to pass the resolution as outlined.
Okay, does that include the suggestion that we review the CUP situation?
Well, what Commissioner Chesley just said didn't, but I think that, as the director said, that's kind of a code compliance issue.
Okay.
And so, and that then he went on to state that, you know, the city's direction is to be more proactive with that. So having said that, I do also want to remind you that you're making a recommendation to the city council for final review and consideration.
Okay.
And can I just add a nugget here in terms of the conversation? So this is a change to the code. What's the change to the zoning map, which is a part of the code, right? Within that, within your powers as a recommendation body to city council for final determination, you have the opportunity or the option here to add a condition. That condition could highlight the outdoor storage piece. Still, recognizing that code compliance is taking a more active role, but then also recognizing an either or, an if then scenario where if you want to continue with the outdoor storage, you shall come back with a review of a conditional use permit. The or is to just remove the outdoor storage pieces, right? It's within your power, especially within something like this, to offer that up and to have that as a condition moving forward.
Jonathan is the mover of the of the motion. Would you like to include?
Yeah, that seems like a sound inclusion.
I second that. Second.
Okay. Did you have something?
I just wanted to add that we would be in agreement with removal. If you want to add that to the resolution now, we would also agree to the removal of the storage unit in the back, because
Okay.
It's more than
All
that,
right.
though. Yeah.
Okay. We will let the motion and the conditions stand as stated. Sherry, could we have a roll call, please?
Stewart?
Aye.
Reichschmidt?
Was there a second?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Chesley?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Okay. Good luck with updating your gas station. We will move on to item 5. Sure, you bet.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to add a comment, I wanted to make sure I was within protocol. Sometimes it helps just to zoom out and be super plain in the language. And I think from my concern, we're going to pour alcohol on a business that needs to be cleaned up and operated professionally. And I just think it's worth stating that in the most obvious way we can. And so I just wanted to add that comment.
Did you have something?
Lucas was asking.
Lucas. Oh, we will, yes, we can take a break. We will take a 5-minute break. We will resume at 7:30. calling the Planning Commission meeting to order. We are now on discussion item 5, and that is an input session to hear about a design review permit and tentative track map regarding the proposed 5-unit, single-story project located on North Montgomery Street, including the dedication of 5 deed-restricted affordable housing units. Could we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair. And for the record, my name is Lucas Seibert. I'm the Community Development Director here for the City of Ojai. The item you have before you tonight is not a concept review, but an input session. No decision being requested by staff at this point, but it's providing an opportunity for both the commission and for the community to weigh in, ask questions, kind of massage the process that this has gone through up to this point, understanding some of the history for this site. And then on top of that, there will be a second meeting where you will see a resolution and then responses to questions that come up at tonight, as well as questions that maybe come up that staff or even the applicant aren't able to address, but certainly can bring back in terms of responses at a follow-up meeting, which will be a public hearing item. This is not a public hearing item. We did provide notice to the community within a 300-foot radius and also covered the entire stretch of Franklin Avenue, Street, Franklin. So what, Drive, boy, it's the third one, okay. So the item before you tonight is so there's a PowerPoint that RRM and Habitat for Humanity are gonna go through. Habitat for Humanity, I'm not gonna speak for them. They'll have the stage to talk about the amazing things that they do. From a design standpoint, RRM, I'll let you speak to what the amazing things that you guys do and what you bring to the table from a design standpoint. Instead, what I'm going to kind of do tonight is set the table from a discussion, input gathering standpoint, and just identify that this project has been ongoing, and this site, when the city took it over through bankruptcy in really kind of 2010, 2012, as a part of co-compliance and other issues that were going on with this site a number of years ago. There have been multiple opportunities to try to put something on this site, recognizing not necessarily the constraints, but I would say constraint, because while this was an RDA site, which obviously, as we all know, RDA's dissolved in 2011, when the city took it over, as a part of the deed, there was a covenant placed on it that required this site to be affordable. So anything that goes forward on this site required it to be affordable housing. So recognizing that immediately, the housing element already recognizes this site as affordable housing with the SPL overlay. The forethought there was in the 4th, 5th cycle, which we're now in the 6th cycle, all of those pieces lined up that led us to what we're talking about really kind of tonight. And I would say, when I talk about the history of this site, there have been multiple iterations. A site that's 0.20 acres, or a little over 8,000 square feet in size, has had a number of thought-provoking designs provided by local architects, local interested individuals in the pursuit of affordable housing. At the end of the day, what ended up moving forward is something that the city council agreed to through an MOU and an ENA, is that the, okay. It's already in the packet as a part of the discussion, as one of the attachments. The interesting thing about everything that's going on, and more importantly with the site plan and the presentation you'll see tonight, is the evolution of this project had been ranging from 3 units to 10 units. That's what we've been seeing for this site. And just to touch on 2 things before I turn it over to Darcy and for the team to do their PowerPoint, I just want to identify something. From a density bonus standpoint, this site is from an overlay standpoint, let me just back up here for a second. From an overlay standpoint, the SPL overlay allows for a density of up to 5 units. That's the base from an SPL overlay. However, when you factor in that this is 100% affordable housing, that number potentially bumps up to 10 units, which is very interesting considering the size of this this basically vacant lot, and having 10 units on that seems like an overreach. But that is where we're at with state law and the provisions that we're seeing here. And I would also add that from a parking standpoint, it's very interesting. The parking you would typically think would need to be above and beyond what you would typically see, but when you add the affordability piece to it, and it becomes something that qualifies from that standpoint, density bonus law has provisions that significantly reduce the parking demand. And when I say significantly, it takes it from a site like this with the 5 units. I think I've heard calculations that it's 10. I actually did the calculations this morning, just out of curiosity. It's 13. 13 would be required if they weren't doing affordable. But it's 6 with the affordability piece. So there's a difference in what is allowed and provided for when it becomes and is provided for from an affordability standpoint. And there's benefits to that, obviously. So now you're providing housing that fits a need or a niche within this community. So just recognize that. Setting the table, obviously there's gonna be lots of discussion. And I'll turn that over now to Darcy and his team to talk through the PowerPoint here.
Like this place is home, I've been here so long. Yeah. So I'm Darcy Taylor, CEO of Habitat for Humanity. Here to kind of lay the groundwork for the discussion related to what we do as an organization and how we're designed and developed to bring affordable housing for sale units, which is unique to the affordable and low-income community. We only build for sale units. We're not in the rental business. All of our units that we provide are for sale, and primarily our niche is low and low-income families. That's really our target audience. And then some roll over into elderly and veterans, our kind of target audience with regards to the programs we're gonna kind of talk with you tonight. So we're glad to be here. Any of you that know anything about Habitat, we are a community-based nonprofit. We are not a for-profit entity. We are a nonprofit in everything we do. And in many ways, that makes us unique in how we design our programs, and particularly with our new construction and home repair. So let me go to slide number 1. We are in the county of Ventura, which is our operating area. We only operate in the county. We do kind of filter into Santa Barbara, or would be South Santa Barbara County, and into northern LA County, but primarily our area of operation is Ventura County. We are the only nonprofit builder for low-income housing for sale units in the county. There are some other variations of that terminology, but primarily we are the primary builder for low-income families. And I think that that's important to know, that that's one of the reasons why we're excited about coming to Ojai, is that we're going to be able to provide that kind of housing for this particular community. The second thing I wanted to share is that we also have a program that is designed to bring and keep people in their homes where their homes may need repairs. For example, elderly people here in the city of Ojai, or veterans that are living in an establishment that say they would have to move out if they didn't get a roof, or they didn't get their bathroom redone, or their floors weren't right. We have a program specifically designed to not only keep people in their homes, but also make their homes more suitable that are safe and living conditions. That's another priority of us, and that's a partnership that we bring to the city and to the counties that we work in as well. And it's a great program because if we can, we'd like to keep somebody in their house as opposed to having them have to move out and then have that house refurbished. And that's really important for the community based on the fact that anybody that lives in this county knows that the average cost of a single-family home is almost $1 million. So it's important for us to keep people that are living in their homes if we can through a repair program called home repair that we do. What's also unique about Habitat is in all of our new construction, we have what is called sweat equity ownership. I was hearing a conversation back here, and he was talking about, you know, I've got 3 adult children, and all my kids, I bought them cars, and you know, when they went to college and the whole 9 yards. There's a different opinion and feeling when someone works on their own property and develops that themselves, brings some kind of ownership to what they're building. And what is also a part of sweat equity is that it allows for us to put together a community of individuals that are working on these properties together and building a network that is in existence when they actually take home ownership. So sweat equity is a big part of what we do. If you're a family of 2, you got to do 500 sweat equity hours. If you're a family of 1, 250 hours. So they're actually building their own homes and in that process also building a community. So that's an important part of it. We're also primarily self-funded. We get about 10% of government money for our projects, primarily in our home repair program. So most of the money that we raise comes from donations and other things that fills the gap. Habitat puts a lot of our own money into these projects as well. And one of the bylaws that we have as an organization is we're not allowed to make a profit on our builds. So, which is totally different than for-profit builders. We actually lose money on our builds. And we'll lose money on Montgomery Street. But our bylaws are designed and written so that we put people in houses who could not ever have an opportunity to be homeowners if it wasn't for a program like Habitat. The last thing I want to share is that our programs are primarily driven by volunteerism. We have talked to the city council here on numerous occasions. One of the great things that we'll be able to do is bring the community of Ojai onto the property to help us build these units as well. And we're real excited about that because it kind of unites the community around an effort that I think has a long-lasting impact. You know, once we're gone, the houses and units will still be there, and the work that the city puts in and volunteers put in will also be there as well. I wanted to ask him for the next slide, but he's on a confrontation outside. Some of the things that are impact that we do that you might want to kind of look at this. This is a really great slide that Katie put together and her team. Recently, we built 85 new homes in the county, which is amazing. You know, I'm standing there, my feet are vibrating. It could be. Underneath here, yeah, it could be, yeah. 85 homes in the county, and I'm going to show you a couple examples here on the next slide, but they vary in design, single-story, two-story, you know, standalone units, condos, and the different types of houses that we build as well. As you can see here, we've had 23,000 supporters. We, you know, have impact on over 392 individuals that have been impacted by our new construction and our home repair programs. And again, I want to stress that we are a county-based nonprofit. We don't just build and leave. We build communities that are a part of Habitat. Once you buy a Habitat home or build a Habitat home or are part of our home repair program, you are a part of the Habitat network forever. We are still getting calls from people whose houses we built, 30 years ago, that still call us about houses. And we still hear about kids going to college for families that were able to buy homes. We're still getting calls about people who've received jobs based on the fact that they have been able to have a higher education based on having their own homes. We're still getting calls about families that are much healthier, live better lives, are more financially secure based on the fact that they have had the great fortune of being in a Habitat home. And then lastly here, 152 first-time home buyers. And this is a unique, also part of our program. We only sell to individuals who have never owned a house before. So only first-time home buyers are able to qualify for our Habitat programs. And the reason that is that there's a number of grants and opportunities that are provided for first-time home buyers that if you've had a home in the past, you could not qualify for. So I really think that what we do is not only about providing homes for individuals, it's also an opportunity for the community of Ojai to partner with us in a big way. And hopefully, as I tell my staff constantly, our goal is not to just build one time in a city. It's to get an opportunity to build multiple times. And we think that this project is an opportunity for us to prove how we do business, how we accomplish our goals, and how we do the things that we do. And hopefully, this will be the first of many multiple opportunities for us to be able to be a part of the city.
Can I just pause for a moment here? Okay, so this is going to be the great experiment. Right now, we're on battery power for City Hall.
I thought I was vibrating.
And so what's going on here is there's an emergency going on. They're going to shut the power off. So it's going to be the great experiment to see if battery really is going to be powering us for the next 15 to 30 minutes before it transitions back over. So they're turning the power off right now. So we're going to find out in the next 30 seconds if solar really is doing what it's supposed to do. So continue. If it does go dark, we have batteries and we'll address the situation. But I have the highest confidence. We've just checked with IT and everything that's going on with that. And it seems like we're going to be okay.
Good.
But
Thank you.
I wanted to give that disclaimer that if something does go sideways, we've got it back up, but it's going to be us moving in Kent Hall.
Okay.
The last slide is just a couple of examples of the homes that we kind of built, so you get a little flavor of our units. So these are a couple of more recent ones that we built. First in Hayes is in Oxnard. Those are single-family homes. This is Berry Street. I call this my Miami Beach homes. These two here, and then the last slide is our Port Hueneme build, 5 units, condos there, and then the 8-unit condo project we just finished in Camarillo. So it gives you that kind of idea of the different styles of houses that we build. And this is just kind of a little sample of that, of what we build. So Lauren's going to talk. RRM has been a partner since I took over Habitat 8 years ago. They have been our architectural partner, and Lauren in particular has been with me since I came on. He's been working with the city and Linda as well, who is here, and helping us to go through these design challenges that we've had. He's going to share a little bit about the design that we've chosen, or the city council chose. I want to say one other thing before I step aside here. We're here to listen today and address any questions, and hopefully walk away with an opportunity to even look at some more questions that may come up, and hopefully get everybody on board with this great project that we're hoping that you will love.
Thank you, Darcy. Lauren Hinkle, architect with RRM Design Group. Get the next slide. So a little bit more about Habitat and the requirements of home ownership here. I don't know, Darcy, if you want to speak more to the Ojai residents first.
Yeah, so one of the things that I didn't know this was in here. One of those things that we do also is give the city the opportunity to get involved in 2 aspects of the project. We always have an affordable resale agreement with the city. So the city can have some input into how long the term is that they want that property to be affordable. And then second thing, we allow the city to lay some foundation and groundwork and guidelines into who is going to be buying those units. Typically, what cities do with us, they will say two things. One, they'll say they would like us to sell to people who either live or work in that city as the first line of opportunity for the individuals that are purchasing the units. We don't always, are not always able to find individuals that meet those requirements, and then obviously the net goes a little wider into the county. But we only sell to people who are in Ventura County, can prove that they're residents. And obviously many of you know that the current administration, there's a number of changes with who can buy houses that receive federal funding and those kind of things, and we're continuing to explore with Katie and her staff the little nuances with how that impacts who can buy actually the type of units that we build. As I said earlier, we are only selling to low-income families. We don't do affordable housing, and this particular project is 100% low income. Our sweet spot is about 40 AMI, is who we try to target primarily. But when we designed it originally, we were looking at a project that could house veterans or elderly as well. So that was part of the goal of when we looked at the tiny home project, was to be able to do that, as well as to, as we were asked to do, make these not completely smart homes, but homes that were 100% electrical, and that's part of the design of making them, easy to live in and easy to maintain as well. The homeowner selection process, which I just want to touch on briefly, is a very, I guess I could say an intensive process. We have a very detailed application process that people fill out. It's reviewed. We get help from My Way Home, which is formerly ECCDC, a nonprofit organization that helps us to evaluate viable candidates. And we also do background checks and all those kind of things that are a part of that process as well. And for example, to kind of talk about the demand and the need, the 8 units we had in Cameroon, we had initially 500 applicants that applied for 8 units. But it gives you an idea of what the need is in the process, but every single homeowner goes through an extensive process.
And open it up to the commission for questions. Comments? Questions? Reactions? Opinions? Anything?
Well, I'm very excited that the city is partnering with Habitat for Humanity. It's very exciting. I think it's excellent for Ojai. I like the project. I think the architecture's fine. I appreciate that they're trying to keep it 1 story. That being said, I do think it looks a little crowded with 5 units on that lot, and it seems like the design could use maybe 1 2-story element that has 2 units in a 2-story format, with the 1 stories towards the front, and that way you can get more parking on the ground floor. So I think that should be a consideration, because I do agree that parking is an issue in that neighborhood. Franklin, if you turn around on Franklin, you have to go into somebody's yard or driveway and turn around. It's very tight. I don't have any problem with people backing out in the new project onto Franklin to exit. So I don't see that being an issue, because nobody's going to be parking on Franklin. They're just going to be backing out of their driveway and then moving forward, towards Montgomery. If we can do something like that and get a couple more parking spaces, that would be good, because there really is a parking issue in that area. And people do tend to have, if there's 2 people in a housing unit, they usually have 2 cars. you don't, but most people do have 2 cars for 2 people. So I don't know. That's some input there. I was just noticing that the tentative map doesn't really match the site plan. And I had a question about that. If there was a special condo, or what's going on with that? Because it doesn't match the site plan.
Yeah, it's a slightly unusual track map in terms of how it's operating. It's the standards are sub what the minimum requirements are within the R2. So essentially what you're looking at is a track map that kind of almost functions as a condo map, but is still functionally being able to be sold per unit. The maintenance piece, just to be fair, the maintenance piece is still being discussed as to whether or not Habitat is going to be the author of that, or if it's going to be the city. Because a lot of times with your condo maps or even a track map, there is that dead space that needs to be addressed moving forward. Here, with the map, those dead spaces are kind of being addressed through shared walls, and then, for instance, the unit to the front kind of sits on its own piece as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm imagining that track map's going to change. Because right now, it's showing buildings crossing property lines, which you can't do.
Well, the building, yes, that's true. It requires setback requirements. One of the opportunities provided through the affordable, through the density bonus allows for concessions, and that allows for reductions in parking, or not in parking, but in setback requirements. So that's likely what you're going to see in terms of a concession. I think in the staff report, I identified that there are a number of concessions they're looking at. They have the option for up to 5, given the parameters of this proposal. So you're right. From a traditional track map standpoint, you'd be looking at setbacks on all sides.
Yeah, well, actually, not necessarily, because some track maps, they're the walls themselves, right? It's a shared wall.
Sure.
Right? So you can have your map is coterminous, or whatever the word is, with the walls.
What you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. And then you have an open space. But this map is not like that. So this.
So are you saying the
lines
aren't matching up?
No,
with
they're
this?
not.
Okay.
With
Well, we can have are we live again?
Oh, it looks like it.
Yes, we're live again.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. So what we can do is we can go through the presentation. RRM will talk through as far as I could tell, they were consistent in terms of the lines matching up, but maybe we can talk through what that looks like, for sure, and get some clarity on that. Do you want to continue with conversation, or should we, now that we know we're live again, I think I can pull up the slide deck again.
Lucas, is there money left over in our RDA account?
That's an excellent question. I have a potential answer, but I would prefer to go back and look at the coffers to see what money currently exists.
Okay.
Because I do know that there is some money, I just don't recall the amount at this point.
It could be applicable, though, then to this project, so, right?
Qualify, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Is-
you're coming over to fix this. Okay, good.
I have a question for Darcy, if he could come up as well. Does the sweat equity replace money down by the builder, homeowner?
No, our bylaws require that, 2 things, that we do not sell, or part of the qualification process in the application, we will not sell a house to anybody that has to spend more than 30% of their monthly income on mortgage payments. That's one. And it's pretty simple. I mean, we don't want people enslaved to having to work to pay their mortgage and not be able to enjoy living in Ojai. So that kind of keeps the restriction, manageable. And sweat equity is not a replacement to any kind of payment structure for their mortgage.
A down payment, I was
No,
talking.
and quite frankly, the reason why we sell to first-time home buyers, there are two large funding grants that are available to our, one of them is the Wish Fund, which most of the people that buy a Habitat home get $20,000 of down payment assistance that is forgivable over a certain amount of time. And the only people who can qualify for that are first-time home buyers. And so most of our home buyers are like, I don't know what you guys paid for your house, but requires 3% down. And I want to say 60 to 70% of our home buyers get that through some kind of grant or some kind of funding opportunity for first-time home buyers. And in fact, most of our clients can qualify up to about $80,000 in first-time home buyer grants, down payment assistance, and a number of the programs that are available to them through the state, county, and federal government. So that's kind of how we do it. We don't.
And Habitat assists them in that process?
Yeah, Habitat assists them, and Our Way Home, one of the nonprofit that you've already heard about, are experts at finding those kind of resources for first-time home buyers.
How many people typically live in your houses that are roughly 400 square feet?
Yeah, so the CC&Rs, I heard one of the questions from the audience here, the CC&Rs are documents that Habitat drafts that are designed to manage the property. It's as limited as, things like you can't park on the front yard. You can't barbecue in the front of the house. You can't turn your garage into a room or an extra boarding place. You can't have, these particular units are designed maximum for 2 individuals. They can't have any more than that in that unit. The CC&Rs are designed to govern occupancy rules and regulations for our homeowners. I mean, it's as complicated as that as it is. You cannot even have someone, stay in the house over an extended period of time that isn't a relative or a person who has been approved for that occupancy period of time. So we govern all of that, and we're pretty good about managing that through checking, and neighbors are pretty open about sharing what's happening in their community. So the CC&Rs is what we do, and then the second question was the maintenance agreements. And the maintenance agreements are what govern the client's responsibility to maintain the property. For example, if Ojai wanted us to paint, I heard some conversation about, was it Navajo white? If white was the color that the city chose to paint the units, the maintenance agreements would require homeowners to maintain those units with those colors and paints, and require to maintain them in a way that is dictated that when they receive the property, must be maintained at that level throughout the term of their living there. So the maintenance agreement covers all those different things that are associated with that.
When a homeowner decides to sell, is there anything
question.
non-standard?
That's a great question. I get that question, very often. So, if Darcy Taylor buys a Habitat home and I spend, I know you're going to be upset. Say, the house that Lauren designed has a appraisal rate of $580,000. Our clients would buy it for somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000 maybe, right? They get a down payment, 3%. They have a monthly mortgage that's probably somewhere between $800 and $1,300 a month. And Darcy stays in that house for, I've got a mortgage that's 30 years, say 30 years, but in year 4, I get transferred to Texas. I can sell the house back to Habitat. And what I can recover is all of my mortgage payments that I've made up to that point. I can get that back, and I can get the difference between what the sell price would be after year 4 versus what the sell price would have been the day I got it. They can't sell it for profit, and they can't sell it for anything other than what they've already invested and the difference in the sell price. We buy it back and we sell it to another low-income family, and the term of the years of the city's agreement starts all over again. But they can move they can move any time, and they can get back any of their personal investment, any of their mortgage payments that have accumulated over the time of their ownership of that particular property.
I think the staff report indicated that this property reverts to the city after 99 years.
Yeah.
What happens, it's way past anything we care about, right?
Yeah,
But I want to know how that works.
Yeah. So we're still working on how that's going to work, whether that's going to be Habitat's going to build on the land, but the land is going to be owned by the city. And if that's the case, then that kind of triggers a number of other things that have to do with, who maintains the sidewalks, the landscaping, and all those kind of things. We do know that typically what we would do, we're responsible, or our homeowners are responsible for the structure itself. And the CC&R agreements are designed in those kind of scenarios where shared walls, roofs, and all those things are written into that agreement, so that in case something was to happen, those kind of things would be covered. But we're not quite there yet with the city. The city is still working on whether or not what that land agreement's going to be. I don't think in my 5 years working on this project we've ever had any discussion about it ever reverting back to the homeowner. The city has expressed the desire and the need or want to keep the land forever, which I think the city attorney is working on that, if I'm correct, and trying to figure out how that land trust will work for the city of Ojai. And all that Habitat would own would be the structures themselves, and the homeowners would own the structures as well. I mean, obviously in that kind of agreement. But the land would remain in the city's control 99 years, however they wanted to structure that.
Home buyer in year 90 is looking at 9 years worth of being able to own that house, and then everything's up for
grabs. I think, so this particular project, I know this is a discussion, I'm like filibustering. So typically for Habitat or for us, we require no less than 20 years, and most of our homeowners have 40-year agreements with us. So when I put this project forth, when Lauren and I were talking about this, we called Habitat International, who has our guidelines on how we can do these kind of things, and I said, 40 years for a tiny home seems kind of a long time. And so what's going to happen with these CC&Rs, I think with these typical units, they're going to be somewhere between 7 to 10 years as a more realistic number of home ownership. So it'll be that kind of structure, which will then obviously loosen if you're an elderly person and you buy a tiny home in Ojai, obviously you're not going to be able to live in that unit for 40 years. But you could live in it for 7 or 10, and then after 10 years, you can then sell it for what you can get as a end of the contract. And that's how the Habitat agreement works. Once the 40 years are up, and those homeowners have been in that unit for 40 years, they can sell that house for whatever the market value is, right? So that's the incentive of why our homeowners stay in their houses. And the example is, if you've ever driven down 126 going towards Valencia Newhall, we have a big project there. If you've ever been to Lake Piru, Sacramento Street is one of our first builds we've ever done. It was back in I want to say 1994, I think, 1994. We built 20 units, single-family units in there. Those are now coming due, right? People have been in them over the period of time. They purchased the house for $127,000, and those are 3-bedroom, 2 baths. They're selling for $400,000. I mean, you know, that's a pretty good turnover of, you know, revenue, but only because they stayed in that house for 20, I think those were 25-year agreements.
If they sell it, I'm sorry to be so dense about this.
No.
But I guess maybe this is a question for Mr. Ziegler. How can you sell a house if you don't own the property?
Because they own the structure.
They own the structure.
They own the structure.
And they don't own the property.
They don't own the property. They own the structure.
That's difficult.
Like a mobile home.
It'd be like a mobile home. That's a great example, yeah. It's pretty common in the habitat world.
Okay,
So pretty common, yeah.
great. Do the other commissioners have questions for Darcy or Lauren?
I have a couple of questions and thoughts. I heard you talk a little bit about the criteria for people who were selected for the homes. And I was just wondering, just expanding on that just briefly, are there any particular priority areas, single parents, couples, elderly? How do you, if you have, let's say you have 5 homes there, do you try to kind of get a mix of different kind of people to fit
Yeah,
different
that's
criteria, or-
that's another great question. So, so if we take county money, for example, Ojai is I think we have county money coming into this project here. We're really excited about. We think we're going to be able to raise 100% of the funding. We may come to the city and ask for, what was that account we wrote that down, didn't we? The account that they, RDA.
Yeah, you punched your ticket.
The county particularly does not allow Habitat to determine what a family unit is, right? And we're not allowed to, HUD doesn't allow us to discriminate. So when we used to fund ourselves, when we used to give mortgages ourselves, we could do that. We could, like, we want, you know, a family of 4 in this unit, or this, we have no control over who actually is purchasing the house. That's why we've gone to a lottery system where, you know, it's whoever. And an example would be our Camarillo unit, which we just finished. I think in that unit there are 1, 2, 3, out of the 8 units, 3 single mothers, 1, 2, 3, 2 married couples, I guess, and then 1 kind of a father-daughter kind of mix of families. And then also what determines that is who is applying and on the application for the actual home purchase. So we don't really, it's a little more complicated, so.
Okay, two more quick ones for you. Do your homes ever include any sort of transportation element? For instance, I've done other projects where they were required to have a bus pass as part of the project or anything. Do you ever have anything like that?
No, not as part of the requirement. I know that the city here, one of the things that they were requiring of us when we were putting the design together was they wanted some kind of bike thing to, people could have bikes. We looked at, for this particular design, electrical hookups as well. So there's a couple things that the former mayor of, I don't know which one it was, but I've been through so many of them.
It was Mayor
required
Six.
that. Yeah. But we've never done that. That's an interesting question. I do know that one of our builds, it was designed to be built by a bus stop because we knew that the people who are buying those particular units were going to need, access to public transportation.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that. Last one, and also just to say off the top, thank you guys for, the amazing work and stability you provide to I'm sure hundreds of thousands and maybe even millions of people. I think everybody appreciates that. It might be interesting just to hear you talk briefly. When a project goes bad, what does that, if you build a few 100,000 houses here and there, something's going to go bad. If a project goes bad, what does that look like? What happens?
What describe bad?
Well, I'm leaving that definition up to you to hear your definition of that. But, when things don't go the way you plan, what does that kind of look like in a community?
Yeah.
And if you don't have an example, that's fine. I'm just.
I guess I can give two examples. One example is Habitat. Really, in its history, has been an organization that has gone it alone and built projects and purchased land and done things working directly with the city and not any partners. And I'm not going to name the actual build itself, but it can get pretty squirrely when you have multiple partners on a build that have different constituents as part of the build process. And an example would be this. We, as a nonprofit builder who builds and sells and leaves, we cannot qualify for tax credits. We can't get any tax credits because obviously we're not owners of the property. We don't get low interest loans from cities. Which is very common with some of our county rental builders that seal things. So that can make life difficult and cause problems. It just does. I'll just be honest with you. So we try not to do that, is partner with people that are building for profit, unless, as Katie has tried to do, is unless it's a project where a for-profit builder is carving out in his particular build 10 units that are specifically going to be given to Habitat to build and manage. That we could do, but lot splitting and all that, that's a recipe for problems.
If you look at that from a livability, compatibility, we're putting 4 or 5 homes into a neighborhood. If you look at it through that lens, what kind of things have gone wrong, or what would that look like if something had gone wrong? And I'm thinking more for, the folks who've come here tonight wondering what's my day-to-day, going to look like.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that that we will get to a point where we'll have a design. We think we have a pretty good design now. No matter where we build, there's always the issue of parking. There's never enough. There's never enough parking. I go to the collections. There's not enough parking. That's really the main thing, and height. And when we started this project, we were dealing with, a couple of designs we had were height, and then the city said, no, we don't want that. We don't want height. And so those are the two main things that communities really are concerned about. And does the design fit the environment that we're building in? And that's why RM is so great. I mean, we really think about those things when we're designing projects. Does it fit the environment that we're building in? That's why we think tiny homes are a better fit for this particular corner. It's perfect for that. And it's taken us 4 renditions to get there, to get there. And so some of the concessions that we've made already and what we've presented are the result of comments that we've gotten from the community, and made changes to accommodate some of the things that they have shared along the way. So I think it's fair to say, and I'm not trying to be bragging, but I don't think I've ever had, in the years I've been here, a project that didn't, when it was all said and done and finished, embraced by the community in which we've built in. And partly because of meetings like this, where things get flushed out and people get a chance to voice concerns. We get to a finished product that everybody can agree to. It doesn't always end that way. Some things are never perfect because nothing's perfect. I've been married for 40 years. And I've had a lot of ups and downs, but we work at it. We really work hard at it. I mean, it's a part of our DNA that we want the neighborhood to appreciate what we're doing, because we want the people on Franklin to know that our project is helping their property values continue to be, well up there, as well as in, affordable housing. We don't want them to think that that's going to have any impact on what they're trying to do in their house. And then let me close with this. One other example I want to share that's a problem is that when we select people, they do sweat equity, and then they go for their mortgages and they don't qualify. That, if you want to talk about a problem or something that happens along the journey, that is the worst thing that can happen. And in fact, of all the things we do, I think we fear that the most. That somebody will have been selected through a lottery process, one of 500. They fill out the application. Maybe they're living back here, and they get a tiny home, and they're working on it. They get through the process. They do the sweat equity. They go to the mortgage company, and the mortgage company says, after they've already received a pre-approval letter that's part of the application, right? But something has happened between the day they got their pre-approval letter and the day they go to the mortgage. It could be anything. It could be they went out and bought a car, or something they lost their job, or in one case somebody qualified. It was a single mom, and the original application she was able to use, she was divorced and she had 3 kids, and 2 of her kids, her ex-husband was paying child support. And when they started the application process, all of her kids were under the age of 17. When she got to the end of the journey, one of her kids turned 17, and the state of California will not let you use the income for a child who is 17 or older for a mortgage if it's child support. And it knocked her out of the deal. So if there's something that can go bad in a build, that's the thing we fear the most. We fear the most.
Thank you, Darcy. Lauren, did you want to continue?
Sure. Thank you. Some contexts around the neighborhood, a mixture of what I would describe craftsman, ranch style, and Spanish colonial architecture influences. We can get the next slide, Lucas, thank you. So this is a little bit of the track record of where we started and along the pathway with the city council. We kind of work our way left to right. We first came in with a proposal for 3 3-bedroom townhomes, 2-car garages, rear access. City council said that's not enough. We can do better. We need to get more out of this resource. The land is incredibly valuable, and so we need to make the most of it. And so the next iteration in the middle shows craftsman style. Again, still 3-bedroom, 1-car garage, this time front access off of Montgomery, with a parking stall in the driveway, so still 2 cars. And then the last iteration was a tiny home concept. They were directing us towards this aging senior population that are not able to stay in the community. They lack affordable places to live and are being displaced. And so that's where we tried a tiny house concept that also allowed us to mix in with possibly some veterans as well. Part of the building code allows you with a tiny house to also have a sleeping loft. And so that was one of the things that we were considering to get the most out of that land. And of course, this one was unparked, which created great concern from the neighbors. So next slide, please, Lucas. So this is where the directive landed us with the city council was 2 tiny home duplexes. Each of the tiny homes are 1 bedroom, 1 bath, just a hair under 400 square feet, 398 square feet, and then also a modest 2-bedroom home, 1 bath. And currently the parking sits at 6 stalls on site. As Lucas pointed out, 1 accessible stall, and also the bicycle parking at the rear of the property. If I can get the next slide. And again, part of the journey was to try to bring things into more harmony with the neighborhood, with a single story, less impact on the neighbors adjacent. So you can see the top elevation is the west elevation along Montgomery Street, and Montgomery. And then the north elevation at the bottom of the screen is along Franklin Drive. And next slide. And then the rear side yard elevations. The south elevation at the bottom of the screen, adjacent to the church parking lot, and then the east elevation at the top, adjacent to the neighboring property. So again, any additional questions, or I'm happy to answer. But I think
I have a
Jennifer?
few, I have a few questions.
sure.
I mean, this is kind of, I guess, for both maybe you and Darcy, because it's kind of about it's about materiality a little bit, in the sense that I think that this seems like the scale. I think that the Katrina's idea is an interesting one. It looks like you've kind of also explored some of those options before, so that was a helpful slide to see. So maybe the scale is appropriate, and I'm sure like cost plays a huge role in this, but I guess just in thinking about making these homes, the role of habitat in the community and in relationship to the environment, I'm just a little bit wondering about the decisions for vinyl and sort of fiberglass in
So
homes.
we don't use vinyl or fiberglass on the siding. If you're referring to that, it's a composite siding. We've actually moved away from even fiber cement composite, and that also is kind of driven by habitat. It's a volunteer build, so we're very concerned about the safety and the ability of the builders to be able to execute the details, and so we use a composite siding. So that it's safer. It doesn't spray quite the same kind of dust that you get with like a fiber cement.
Mm-hmm.
And it also allows volunteers with a little bit direction from Habitat's superintendent to be able to install the siding. So kind of twofold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a question. This is kind of a bigger question, so maybe less about you guys, but and it was interesting seeing those other options, and it might also just be like different school of thoughts. So I'm just sort of fleshing, kind of wanted to put it out there for you, the commissioners, I guess anybody, is, it's one of some of those options you had it where the parking was sort of in the rear, it was kind of like concealed, not a part of the street front. This one, I'm sure to kind of make these units work. I mean, I was like kind of looking at it, sketching over it a little bit. It's pretty tough to not do that. But as far as feelings about how, about goals when we look at projects like this, or sort of like the direction of that new developments should be going with Ojai, I'm kind of curious how the group feels about that, or, I'm sure you have some thoughts about it as well.
Yeah, it's a sad commentary on our society. When I get a project, the first thing I really have to evaluate is parking. We're trying to provide homes for people that have a hard time being in our community, and I think it's very admirable, both the city and Habitat partnering and trying to find homes for existing residents and people that work in the community. And as you could tell from the first iteration, providing that rear access and concealing the parking was a huge cost in terms of the land and the land use, to be able to move and maneuver that car into the garage or parking stall, back up, and then exit again out the same way. You give up quite a bit of land.
Yeah.
And so with that, you lose units, you lose the opportunity to provide more housing for people that are in need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it goes to the street, basically.
Yeah, with a tight site, as we're all well aware.
Yeah.
8,800 square feet.
Yeah.
One of your projects was a podium style, where the garage was on the bottom, or at least Darcy's project, maybe not yours. But it had the garage on the bottom and the living space on top, it looked like.
Yeah, that's Camarillo.
Camarillo.
So that's a townhouse. It is I think it's 15 feet wide townhouse
Tandem parking.
with tandem parking in the rear. Yeah, and I believe is that shared access with the yeah. So they're already borrowing access from the neighbors to be able to. And that was 3 stories. Yeah, to be able to do that was 3 stories, which I don't think. Well, I mean, we could do, and we could use the state law to get there, but I don't think that that's something that the community would like. And
I'm not suggesting
Yeah.
that.
No, I
Ojai
understand.
does
I'm
what
just-
Camarillo did, but I'm just saying the
Right.
concept of a podium,
Yeah.
not that
Right.
exact design.
Yeah, and the other fact is that Habitat is out here fundraising to be able to make up the funds to be able to sell these homes at a low cost, and I would rather put that towards, again, housing people instead of somewhere to store their car.
Have you looked into just one of the buildings being 2-story and then 1-story in the front? So, more in scale with a lot of the homes on the street, but the next door neighbor is 2-story in the back as well, on the church, I believe.
They're beyond our property, so
Right, yeah, but I'm just saying there's precedence for having 2-story in the back.
tucked in the back, yeah.
Unit 2 and 3 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, our concern was what that would do to the neighbors, and the impact there, looking down on them is something that we were trying to avoid.
There's ways to mitigate 2-story, just with certain windows and window placement and, them being opaque or whatever in critical spots. So, I think that shouldn't be thrown out the window, that option is all, because you can mitigate some of the bad things of,
Yeah, and again, this ties into Habitat and their model. We're able to use more of the volunteer labor with the single story, which also brings down their cost. Once you get up to that 2nd story, they will not let anybody up there to touch that roof. So,
Sure.
it's interesting.
yeah. Yeah, which I guess the way then the roof gets constructed is they bring on a subcontractor that has to pay to be able to provide that roof. So it escalates the cost.
Any further questions or comments for Lauren? I would like to say that I am very pleased that Habitat is directing these to low and low-income people. It's something our city really hasn't managed to accomplish with the other affordable housing projects that we're anticipating. I'm not opposed to the two-story in the back concept if it helped with parking. Also, the way that 5 units are laid out puts them really in close contact with each other. So I am concerned about fire resilience.
Yeah, that's a great point. We do definitely take that into consideration with the design, and that was part of the concept in terms of trying to respect the existing context with kind of the rhythm that you experience in a single-family neighborhood, with the side yards and rear yards being somewhat similar to what you would see in the other lots. And again, to the fire resiliency, they're definitely familiar with the building assemblies that allow us to provide that 1 hour fire separation to meet the building code. Yeah.
You know, the state law allowances and all their new rules are one thing, but realistically, this site is very small, and it is located among small single-family homes. So my personal preference would be to see you do 4 units if that it would pencil out in any way, shape, or form. I just think that it would fit that neighborhood a little better than squeezing that 5th unit in. As much as we need those low income units, I just don't want to see it look too crowded. Any other final thoughts? Well, I guess you've had our input.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yes.
Judy, can I just make one quick note?
Yes, you may.
You guys did address this, but the 2 stories, one of the comments from one of our neighbors was she's a single mom with a little daughter, and she butts up to the property. And so the original design was to do 2 stories in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And she had concerns about people looking in her backyard because she's like right there. So that's kind of why I think one of the reasons they accommodated that, so.
So the single, that's a good reason to keep the single
Yeah.
story concept. Okay, well, we look forward to seeing what you all
I
come
just
back.
wanted to say, can I say one?
Yes.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
The many things that I've said. I just wanted to say we really appreciate Lucas and his team's work on the project. They have been, he's done an amazing job getting us to this point here today. And believe me, we've been working on this for 5 years, and Lucas has really helped us when James left and that whole process there. And so we really wanted to kind of give him a shout out to say that we really appreciate you taking this on and really kind of pushing this through. So we're really grateful.
Thank you, Darcy.
Yeah.
We also appreciate Lucas, so. Okay, we're going to close this item.
Oh, hold on, can I
Yeah,
just
okay.
say a couple of things here. One is this is a 2-step process in terms of what we're seeing here. The first is this input piece. The second will be a resolution coming before this body in a public hearing format. The second thing that I wanted to mention, and even just, I get that the community is has reservations from a two-story standpoint. And there has been, they're showing 3 iterations, but I remember seeing back in the napkin more than 3, to be fair. They're highlighting the 3 that really kind of were tossed around at city council level. And I do think that there's potentially an opportunity to have that conversation about a second story, because that's going to be one of the questions that I'm seeing that we're taking back to review and take a look at. I don't know how far it's going to get. It could be back in the napkin again, where you don't see any color to it, but you see what that would look like. And I think that's an important piece for this body to understand, for the design team to understand. I don't think we're necessarily looking for full detailed drawings, but I think something from a perspective standpoint might be helpful from context. And also recognizing that I know the community was certainly at all those city council meetings, and I remember hearing the exact same thing that John Trent just said. Even with that, 1 unit being 2-story, what does that look like? Or stacking, what does that look like? That hadn't been necessarily considered or even discussed, mainly because when we heard from the community, it was a resounding, don't do 2-story. And we said, understood. We understand our assignment here. So just know that the questions and comments that came forward from the community, from the Planning Commission, we're going to go back, respond to those in writing. I know that while on the plans it identifies and shows stop signs both at Franklin. Obviously Franklin already has a stop sign, but I'm saying along Montgomery. I'll provide additional context and a follow-up to that as well. So your questions aren't going to be ignored. They will be responded to in writing.
Great.
So, with
Thank
that, I yield.
Okay. In that case, we will close this item and move on to the Planning
Yes.
Commission tentative schedule.
Yes. So in terms of the tentative schedule moving forward, we have the March 4th meeting. It is a regularly scheduled meeting, and you have 2 items on there. Now, I'm going to briefly describe these items, but we cannot have a back and forth conversation, okay?
Okay.
Legal will get very upset with me if we start having a back and forth. So I'm giving information here, so just absorb it, okay? From the first item standpoint, it's a DRP, a CUP for 242 East Ojai Avenue. It's the patio at the rear, referred to as Ojai Mountain Farms, and it is on city public land. Now you're going to ask yourself the question in your head, and I'm going to respond to you by saying, yes, the freezer will be a part of the discussion, and there'll be more information that'll be identified with that. The second piece to that, and I want to give you information, the reason why it can go on this meeting is because Historic Preservation Commission will have an opportunity to provide comments, and those comments will be forwarded to this body. And those comments will include, yes, the freezer. I want to leave it at that. It's not a back and forth. The second one, and the second item, is the DRP 24-007. It is 408 North Montgomery Street. It is the item we just heard. I will tell you right now, I am very deep into the resolution as it's being formulated, and obviously the questions and comments that came forward tonight will be addressed through the staff report. So just know that work has already started on this in terms of the resolution coming back to this body, and it will be a public hearing item. So noticing in the same format as what we've done before. The difference is that the noticing also requires us to go to the paper, so it'll be in the paper as well.
Okay.
In terms of the March 18th meeting, I see there's an item on there, and I don't remember agreeing to this item being on here, but there is an item that's on here. It's the City Hall Master Plan for 401 South Ventura Street. I might actually try to push that up from a concept review to the 4th, so you might actually see this one on the 4th. If we do that, there's a possibility that we end up canceling the 18th, unless another item suddenly pops up that is ready to be heard as a public hearing item that we can discuss. as a sidebar, are we moving on to the next item?
Yes.
Okay, so this is me, right?
Director's report.
Okay, good, perfect. As a sidebar, it's not common that we have this many items on the agenda, just to be fair. I try to keep the agendas to about 2, sometimes 3. This one ended up being 4, certainly much more than what we had anticipated, but I just want to commend you for really tackling this, because these are all meaty land use items, and I want to commend the commission for really kind of rolling up their sleeves and kind of working through it. As you know, staff is always available if you have questions or comments. To the new commissioner, that is news to you, but to the rest of you, you already knew that, right? Throughout this entire process, don't feel as if it's a closed door. It's an opportunity to kind of get into the head of what a planner is doing in terms of processing. So just wanted to make note to that. And usually I also mention the director's exemption piece. I didn't put that on here tonight for discussion. But if you do have any questions as they come forward, obviously either reach out to that planner or reach out to me. And that's it from a director's report standpoint.
Do we have any commission member reports? Okay. It looks like Kim Meng has evolved into our mayor.
I think that's a typo, it should be me.
Okay.
So it's transitioned to the mayor, yes.
I'll just say very briefly, there was a lot of good stuff to talk about. I just wanted to, one point about parking, which just so you understand what we're thinking about, so you have it in your minds. There's many items, but there's 4 different lots we're looking at some phase. In other words, it's either for sale that we're pondering it, we're considering it as part of a larger package. So that'd be 4 parking lots that we're kind of toying with, does that make sense here or not? Another is having some private-public partnership where the trolley would go a little bit out from outside of the corridor that goes there and picks people up, so we're considering that on the west side a little bit. Another is installing bike racks in places where, sort of in front of the Duchess, you might say, or Roti. I've taken pictures where there's 15 bikes tied to trees. I mean, literally, I'm not exaggerating, including my bike. So where bike racks are more strategically placed so that people are encouraged to ride bikes more. The trolley you've seen is running every day. On 3 days a week now, it's running every 30 minutes. But there's 2 other ideas. One is to extend eventually, once we have the staff for it, a little bit further east or west, potentially. And the other idea is a line that just runs back and forth all day long. That's free. And that's just an idea. But people jump on and hop off. So you park somewhere, I'm throwing out there the Y, let's say, you hop on and come back and forth. So that's another idea.
Like that one.
I know there's a lot of great ideas in there. And then this is kind of a little bit, 2 other things. One is when in working with Public Works, when there is, we're looking at the paving of a road, we are looking at the curbs and the painting as well. So on Franklin, which I had family members rent those houses to and all that kind of stuff, is extending the red zone so that you can see a little better, so that every time working with Lindy Palmer saying, let's really look at those opportunities and extend that so that the visibility goes up. And then this is kind of the longest piece, you might say. If there is a project like this where when we look at that criteria, as we looked at for Cabrillo that's going on Bryant Street, what that rental hierarchy will be. So you say, first level tier is people who live here already. That would be your first prospect. Then you go down the list, but at some point you might say, people who work here but don't live here, or they used to live here but don't now. So when I look at a project like this, or any project that involves housing, and you say, here's a person that might be commuting in right now, that now they won't have to commute in, and then you're reducing traffic with that individual. So again, that's we would really want to look at how that goes. But the Economic Development Collaborative had a recent business workshop, and there was some data they presented. There's one piece that they've shared with me, which is 2,500 people drive into the city every day who work here but don't live here, and 2,300 people drive out every day who live here but don't work here. So anything we could do, including the project before on the old Laurel Springs lot, if you said, oh, here's now people that could work here who are commuting out, now there's office space, that's a commute reduced. So every time there's a project's going on, I'm always thinking about it in those terms. How could you cut that number down just by a little? Even if it was 25, if you have 25 people on either side, that's 200 commutes. So anyway, something like that. So anyway, those are the kind of things that are on my mind when we're looking at these projects, because I see that the traffic is very difficult. So the more we can mitigate that, the more we're looking towards that. But this was really great to be here.
Thank you,
Any
Mayor.
questions for me? No? Great. All right. There wasn't any, was there?
Okay, I am going to adjourn the meeting at 9:06.